I'm not that opinionated. So when we first started kicking this off, I think one of the neat things about an event like this is the diversity of participants, right? We've got individual makers, tinkerers, inventors, people from large corporations here. So it's the whole Internet of Things dynamic is steeped in its diversity right now. What I wanted to talk about is kind of what we think it is and it isn't. You know, one perspective is that it's all about the individual maker and innovator. The other side, oh, it's all about these monstrous ecosystems that the large companies and telcos are forming. Some people think this is a new phenomenon. In reality, the Internet of Things and a lot of the technologies that we're using have been around for 10, 15 years. Some are fundamentally new, but a lot of them are repurposing things that we've all had kind of the toolbox for quite some time. What I'm trying to do today is just get across the message that it's going to take a village, so to speak. It's going to take all of us with all our unique skills and capabilities from the design perspective, from experience in industrial applications, bringing all that skill set together to make what we all believe is some fantastic potential in the Internet of Things. And my background's actually out of industrial automation, the gritty, dirty, factories, power plants, that kinds of things. And a lot of the things that we have to take for granted for a successful Internet of Things, we've learned and experienced in that world, like reliability, high availability. When things go wrong, people get hurt, the environment gets damaged, things blow up. There's a lot of learnings from those technologies we can repurpose and reapply. We come from the design perspective. Again, I think there's an element of the human element of how people interact with this technology that's all too often lost. Some pretty glaring examples that some of us have seen and get value out of. Nest has been identified as this design mantra for the IoT, what the next generation of devices will look like, or tools like Goodnight Lamp, bringing a really unique way for people to interact across distance boundaries using technology to bring some humanity to the element. But ultimately, design needs to be an integral part of every product that we're building today. And the new wave of technologies that we've seen over the last decade give us a whole new type of infrastructure for delivering the products and services that are going to come out of the IoT. You've probably seen a lot of fundamental changes, like companies thinking no longer about selling products, but selling about what their products produce. Whether it's drill companies selling holes, whether it's aircraft engine companies selling thrust. It's a whole different way that you're going to want to interact with your customer base. And new technologies are going to be needed to enable us to scale. Again, there's a lot that the next-gen tech companies have taught us that we can use as our collective toolbox to help make those real. I mean, one that I think this whole concept of new delivery models. If you look on the consumer side of things, a lot of times the product is the product, the instrument itself, the Fitbits and things like that. Whereas we start to see in home healthcare, home automation, applications where the service is the product. So we've got to be very, very flexible in the way we deploy these things. But the reality is, at the end of the day, even an individual innovator needs to figure out how to build, in some cases, build a viable business. Sometimes that's not the intent. But when it is, we've probably all seen really cool Kickstarter projects. Get all psyched about it. It's something you really want to get. There's excitement about the product. People want to buy it, and then it's really difficult to scale, right? There's some interesting work going on. I don't know if there's any incubators in the London area. There's one I'm involved in Boston called Bolt, where it's trying to bring together hardware innovators with the means of production. So you have a great idea, you want to kind of quickly, rapidly prototype it. So they've got tooling, 3D printers, all the stuff to help them rapidly build prototypes, and then the infrastructure to help them bring that product to market, bring it to scale. So I think that element of it, and also creative monetization models. It comes back to, what are you really selling? Are you selling a service? Are you selling a product? And we're going to see all of the above. Another thing that we kind of, from the ThingWorx perspective, think about a lot, and John Chambers from Cisco echoed this the other week. Forget whose numbers you believe, whether it's 50 billion or a trillion or a zillion, it really doesn't matter. There's going to be lots of stuff connected. But our contention is that one of the opportunity gaps there is to take advantage of all these connected things, we're going to need apps. And in order to do apps today, it's still the domain primarily of the developer. It's a start to finish using elemental tools and putting together an application. We believe that in order to satisfy the need for apps, it's going to require some really fundamental different ways to build those applications. That's kind of what we're focused on. So kind of in our world, if you take like a consumer app, that can tend to be a point-to-point app. You've got a device in your home and you access it through a mobile app. We start to get into some of the industrial commercial stuff that we deal with. No IOT app's an island. It's intersecting with lots of other sources of information, business systems, human participants. We're starting to see, in a lot of our customers, the way that they connect to their devices is multimodal. They've got some stuff in different parts of the world connected directly over satellite links, other through kind of intermediate device clouds. Ultimately, our view of the Internet of Things is really about, it's an ecosystem. It's a giant ecosystem with lots of different participants and lots of value to add. But that also creates a lot of friction. How are we going to let all these things play well together? And that's what I want to go off on a little rant about. Who's seen the movie The World's End? Classic, great movie. And one of the best lines in there is, what the fuck does WTF mean? Well, that kind of summarizes it, right? A lot of times we're all coming at the same thing from different perspectives, and we're actually saying the same thing. One area that's sort of been a passion of mine that a lot of people in the room have probably seen me go off on is the importance of solving some interoperability problems in the IoT above the wire level. We've got to start thinking about different Metamodels so that when I can connect up to a device, I care that it's pin 13 or analog 4. I want to know that that's the garage door sensor or the steam inlet pressure and things like that. We've got to be able to loosely couple all these things, connect up to a connected device or application, learn its capabilities, mash them up, compose them. That's what's going to help take a lot of the friction out of it. So I'd like to use this this forum that we have over the next few hours. Let's kind of have some side discussions on different ways we can solve this problem. I'm sure there's a lot of interesting perspectives on that. Reality is there's not going to be a single IoT standard. There already are zillions of them, whether it's at the wire level, device management, connectivity, you name it. That's a good thing and a bad thing, but it's a reality. There's going to be lots of different ways we're going to connect stuff up. And I love this line I've heard before. It says, standards are like toothbrushes. You know you need one, but you don't want to use somebody else's. And the reality is, I think we're kind of at that mode a little bit, particularly in vertical industries. Nobody likes to share. And we've got a lot of the really good pieces and parts today with things like co-op and MQTT and so on. Let's figure out a way that they can all play seamlessly together. And that's part of the reason I'm psyched that this conference even came together, because it's getting a lot of really interesting participants together that can hopefully solve some of those. And why do we even bother with this Metamodel approach? Well, one of the things that we do believe, and this is kind of something that we've baked into our platform, is it just kind of takes ambiguity out of the equation. When you're trying to link things up together, you know what it is you're talking to. You know what its capabilities are. And we're not talking just about data, it's services, events. What are the capabilities of that thing? That thing could be a physical good, a vehicle, a light bulb, a business application. Let me find out what its capabilities are. You hear me use this term over and over again, compose and mash them up. It's when we unleash everybody to be an innovator that awesome stuff's going to happen. And as I said before, I don't think we're ever going to be able to achieve that universal standard. It's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. But we use the term standardization at the touch points. How can we maybe create kind of a meta standard or meta protocol that sits on top of all this junk? Again, there won't be one, but they can help us wire this stuff all together. So as I said, let's use lunch and some beers tonight as an opportunity to kind of work this out. Please feel free to tell me I'm a complete idiot. It's quite possible. But let's try and get some ideas together and really push this forward. The group and a lot of the people in this room today have had some discussions about this. Let's see if we can push it forward. And most importantly, it's an awesome forum for all of us to both teach each other and learn from each other. Again, everybody's got a lot to contribute, so let's get that dialogue going. And the last thing I'd like to do is bring up one of my colleagues to talk about how you can use the Internet of Things to save beer.
Hi, I'm Jan Hemp from India. We're a partner of ThingWorx in the UK. Rick's actually just dropped me right in on this because I wasn't supposed to be attending the event. He literally told me to put this slide in a couple of minutes ago, so apologies that I'm not any time to put it.
Just flow with it. Just flow with it.
Agile.
No, as Rick touched upon, there are a lot of people or devices that we're looking at the moment, point-to-point applications. One of the recent things that we've been looking at is for a major brewery, we've been looking at ways to save beer. Now, in a bar, as I'm sure you guys very much all know, there are many different pieces of equipment. There's the management of the stock levels, there's the cleaning of the lines, there's the EPOS system integration, there's ordering gas, things like that. We've been asked by major breweries to put an application together, which we're trialling now, which basically takes brewers are not that responsive in getting the beer to you, so we've put together an application that takes in the flows of beer, it integrates with the EPOS system, so it can pretty much monitor people bringing in voids, overpouring, underpouring. It looks at the quality of the beer by the amount that the lines have been cleaned. It's got some gimmicky bits to it, enables customers to tweet about certain, basically, score the pubs. It enables them to search for pubs with good scores within the area. That's built on the ThingWorx platform. It's in pilot at the moment, but we're hoping that they're going to like what they see and roll that out. Apologies that was a bit rushed and it was a little bit all over the place, but as I say, Rick dropped me right in there.
Awesome, thank you.